All right, so this is day 3 of the exam review. So we're starting off with 23. We're going to try to finish off with 33. And I think these things get a little shorter as we move on, so that's kind of nice. But number 23 just says simplify. We have 2 over 5x times 3 over 5. Now, since this is a multiplication, that means you can cross cancel. So you can cancel diagonally or you can cancel vertically. Okay? But notice 3 and 5, they don't have anything in common, right? Not even this 3 and 5, they don't have anything in common. Same with the 2 and 5s, right? Those don't have anything in common. So I can't cancel anything out. You do not cancel side to side, remember, right? You only cancel diagonally and vertically, never side to side. So doing this would be wrong. Okay, don't do that. So all you're going to do is just multiply. So 2 times 3 is 6. Over 5x times 5 is 25x. And you're done and you move on. Okay? Again, the questions I give you are pretty much copies of the ones you're going to be seeing, just with different numbers. So yes, there will be questions that are literally that easy. You just multiply and you're good. So this is number 24 on the test. So this is the one that would have had the 35 on the side like that, like I told you guys. Okay? So just ignore that. So they say solve the equation. They don't tell you how, but you notice that there is a square root there. So what you're going to want to do is square both sides. Okay? So you're going to want to square this side. You're going to want to square this side. So 3 squared is 9. And the square root squared goes away, so it's 6 minus 3b. So at this point, I would just move the 6 to the left-hand side. So let's subtract 6 on both sides. So now we're basically doing algebra 1, right? Or math 1. So 3 equals to negative 3b. Divide both sides by negative 3. So you get b is equal to negative 1. And that's it. I mean, not a hard question. You have to know how to start it, but if you know how to start it, you're going to be okay. Just square. That's all you need. All right, number 25. Now, here's where you guys might have to remember some stuff, so let me just remind you. Okay? Let me use green here. X to the a over b is the b root of x to the a. Okay, or the b root of x to the a. You can actually put the a inside or outside. I prefer on the outside, but you can also put it on the inside. Okay? So we're going to have to simplify this thing. All right? So this is, let me rewrite it in red, 49 y squared in a square root to the third power. Remember, your index is a 2. Square root. Well, what's the square root of 49? What do we get? Square root of 49 is what? 7, all right? And what's the square root of y squared? Well, since this matches that, that means the y comes out. So this comes out to 7y to the third. 7 to the third, I don't know exactly what it is right now. We'll find out. But y to the third, I know is y to the third. So 7 to the third is just 7 times 7 times 7, which is 49 times 7. So 49 times 7, that's a 63. That's 28. So 343. And there's your answer. So 343y cubed. Now your calculators can do 49 to the 3 halves, but it can't do y squared to the 3 halves. So you are going to have to kind of do that one on your own. Okay? Just remember, with square roots, you try to match powers with indices, right? So if you had like cubed root of x to the fifth, then you want to rewrite it as cubed root of x to the third, x squared. And then you can match these. This will come out. So this will be x square root of x, cubed root of x squared. That's the way it would come out. So just remember how to do your square roots and your cubed roots, how to simplify them. Okay? That's going to be the important part for these problems here. Any questions on 25? So write this in radical form. So 5x to the 4/5. All they want is to rewrite it in radical form. We don't have to do anything special with it. Just rewrite it in radical form. So the 4/5 power, the 4 is the power, the 5 is the index. So this is going to be a fifth root of 5x to the 4th power. And that's it. That's all you got to do for that one. Just rewrite it. And you should also be able to rewrite it as a power if you're given a radical. So we're probably going to do one of those next. So 27. There you go. Write this in exponential form. So that power on the outside, the 5, that's your numerator. The index is your denominator. So this becomes 2x to the 5/3. And that's your answer. So these aren't meant to be difficult. You just got to remember the definition, right? How to change it one way into the other. And that definition is on what number was it? Right here. Okay, number 25. That's the one that tells you how you can rewrite stuff. All right. Number 28. Now there are two ways to do this. I'm going to show you both. Okay. Granted, I don't really want to in a sense because one way could confuse you more, but here's the thing. Whenever you have a square root divided by a square root, you can combine them into one square root. It'll look like this. So it's going to be method number 1, okay? So it'll look like this. Okay? Now 16 divided by 8, well, that's just 2. So there, you're done. Square root of 2. You're finished. Okay? So you have your square root of 2. That's done. Here's the second method. You could rationalize the denominator since it has a square root. Now the reason why I'm going to show this to you is in case there's a question where you can't just easily divide. Okay? So you're going to want to multiply by the denominator. Okay? Whoops. So multiply by the denominator. That's called rationalizing the denominator. Square root of 8 times the square root of 8 on the bottom, that's the square root of 64. Okay? Square root of 8 times the square root of 16. I don't know that off the top of my head. Give me a second. So, what do we get? 128. Okay? The bottom part is just an 8. Okay? Give me a second. I'm trying to break down this number here. 128 is 64 times 2. And the reason why I'm doing that is because remember, when you're trying to simplify square roots, you have to make sure that you write it in 2 factors. One of them should have a square root at least, right? I know the square root of 64 is 8. So let me kind of move this over here. That's 8 square root of 2 over 8. And those will cancel. So your answer is square root of 2. So obviously, if you had a choice which way to do it, if I were you, I'd choose method number 1, right? Just rewrite them in one big square root and divide. All right, but the reason why I'm showing you method number 2 is because what if you can't divide them? This is what I mean by not dividing them. What if you had this question? Oops. Square root of 2 divided by square root of 3. You can't just say, oh, that's the big square root of 2 over 3 and those divide. Those don't divide. 2 divided by 3 doesn't happen. So then you would have to do this by using method 2. You would multiply top and bottom by square root of 3. Okay, you'd have to do it that way. All right, so that's why I wanted to show you both of them, not just show you number 1 there, that first method, and then you're like, oh, they're all going to be this simple. Like, I don't remember what the question on the test is. I know it's this type of question, but I don't know if you're going to be able to simplify it immediately. Okay, so I just wanted to show you both. Okay, so this would be the answer if you do it the other way. All right, multiplication. So this one seems to be heavy on radicals. We're 4 problems away. Or 5 problems away, sorry. So whenever you do multiplication of square roots, as long as they're the same index, so these are square root of 5 and square root of 10. So as long as they're the same index, you can multiply them together. First, you start with your number on the outside. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And then you put the numbers on the inside. So 5 times 10, that's 50. Okay? Now you have to simplify the square root of 50. So the square root of 50 doesn't have a square root, but you can rewrite 50 as 25 times 2. So it's negative 6 square root of 25 times 2. The square root of 25 is 5. This is going to come out. So this is negative 6 times 5 square root of 2. And negative 6 times 5 is negative 30 square root of 2. So that's how you do number 29. Just multiply and then you simplify. And remember, with the fact that you guys have calculators, you may just be able to punch that in and be okay. But if you're doing it by hand, there you go. So number 30 is the same thing. The only difference is that now we have a distribution occurring. All right. So let's go ahead and distribute. We're going to distribute this times that, this times that. So 2 radical 3 times radical 8 is 2 radical 24. Okay, plus 2 radical 3 times radical 10 is 2 radical 30. I got to think, for the square root of 24, what 2 numbers can I use, one of them which has a square root? What times what is 24, but one of those should have a square root? There's only 2 options. 8 and 3 or 6 and 4. Which one should I use? 6 and 4, right? So that's going to be 2 square root. I'm going to put 4 times 6 plus 2 square root of 30. Let's look at the numbers for 30. You can use 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. But none of those have square roots. So that means that the square root of 30 is just going to stay square root of 30. Okay, so that means I can just simplify the 4 here. That comes out. So that's 2 times 2 square root of 6. Again, I'm showing a little bit of extra work. Most people don't show that step that I'm doing right now. They just multiply. But 2 times 2 is 4. So 4 square root of 6 plus 2 square root of 30. And that's your answer. You can't combine those. Are we okay with that one? So like I said, as you're kind of noticing, this is number 30. If we go all the way back up, this all started with number 24. We started working with square roots. So literally we did one problem that wasn't square root related. After that, everything has had square roots in it. Okay, so this is heavy on square roots. And here you go, even more square roots, adding and subtracting them. Now before you add and subtract them, you're going to want to try to simplify them first. Okay, so I know that I can write 4 square root of 20 as 4 square root of 4 times 5 plus square root of 5, because that one you can't do anything with, minus 2 square root of 4 times 5. Now I know the 4 can come out, and it's going to become a 2. So this is, again, I'm showing you guys a little bit of extra work just to make sure that if anybody's watching this or just looking at the notes, it makes sense to them. So there you go. I took out the 2. Now let's simplify that. That's going to be 8 radical 5 plus radical 5 minus 4 radical 5. You notice how everything now is a square root of 5, right? So that means I can combine everything. So right here on the middle term, there is a 1, even though you don't see it. There's a 1 there. So 8 plus 1 is 9, minus 4 is 5. So this comes out to 5 square root of 5. All right, so simplify them first. That way you can see what radicals you can actually put together. All right, this next one just says simplify this. So 169, the square root of 169, I don't know if you guys memorized it. I know I told you guys to know all the square roots up to like 16, right? But the square root of 169 is 13, okay? So this is going to come out, that's a 13. So let me write that out, 13 square root. Now p to the 6th, the index on this radical here is a 2. This is a square root, okay? So that means I need to rewrite this as p squared, p squared, p squared. That's p to the 6th. But all of these are going to come out. That's 3 p's are going to come out. P times p times p. So that's going to be 13 p cubed. And that's your answer. The square root's going to disappear because there's going to be nothing left inside besides a 1, but the square root of 1 is 1, so it just goes away. So you just got 13 p cubed. All right, and we got one more, and that's it. And again, this one you can do on your calculator. But in case you can't, we got to think of how to simplify. So how can I rewrite 150? 15 times 10, but do any of those have square roots? No, right? So think of something else that can give you, let's say, 50 that has a square root. What number divides 50 that has a square root? 25, right? So 25 times, what would that be, 6? 25 times 6 is 150. Now I know the square root of 25 is 5, so that's going to come out 5 square root of 6. And there is no way to simplify the square root of 6, so we're done. So this is your review for today. Okay, just to kind of get a look at next week. Let me pause the video. I'll show you guys what's happening. Sorry, tomorrow.